Thanks, Jay. I am David Kerr, the Senior Vice President at Gallagher Canada. My main focus is in the cannabis business and ancillary related business. And today I'm very excited to be joined by one of our main partners, Kelli Hunt from Nextwave, who is a industry leader in ensuring everything cannabis. So I'll give her a quick intro right now.
Hi, my name is Kelli Hunt. I'm the Vice President of Nextwave Insurance Canada. I represent a lot of you from different parts of the industry, we like to say, from seed to sale. We've been open since basically legalization day in 2018, and now we represent a lot of you. So we offer you your property, your recall, your liability, and all that fun stuff. So that's what I'm here to talk about today. All things insurance and claims.
Yeah, and that's going to be our focus. And I just wanted to provide a quick overview of the Gallagher claims support staff. And I think it's, against any other competitor in the country, I think we have just a preeminent team here. The focus being to ensure our clients have a partner and advocate when the time comes to file a claim. It will happen. These things happen, whether it's accidental or on purpose, and you need somebody on your side to do that. Our services include analysis of loss, initial claims reporting, large loss consultation, providing appropriate claims resources, review, and advocacy. We have over 25 claims professionals across the country, and they are ready and willing to work at any moment's notice. We can call them late at night, first through in the middle of the night, and the early mornings. Call us first, and then we'll deal with them. But their job is to work and advocate on your behalf. Over the past 12 months, we have positively impacted our clients' claims outcomes by 10 million above and beyond what carriers delivered. So we are ready and willing to help. But today, we're also going to talk about the claims experience that we're seeing in the cannabis space and what can be done to help prevent it and what to be knowledgeable about. And on that front, Kelli, I think the best question to be asked, I think what we've seen is the most prevalent claims seem to be fire. But where are the fires coming from and how are they starting? And what is driving claims on a production and growing basis?
So I think it's going to come to no surprise to anybody when I say it, but yeah, it's fires, it's light bulbs, and it's electrical. So over the past 3 years, we have seen a variety of fire claims for a variety of reasons. No two claims are ever the same. No fire starts for the same reason. But we've narrowed it down to a few things. We know that metal halide light bulbs are causing a problem. We know that the HPS light bulbs can cause problems if installed incorrectly. We know that if the electrical panels haven't been updated and haven't been double checked by a qualified electrician, a lot of times they are overloaded and they're putting stresses on breakers and systems and causing fires that way. When these fires start, the unfortunate thing is it tends to ruin all the stock. And I hear a lot of times, but we have individual grow rooms, it'll be fine. But when the fire department shows up, they're trained to open all those doors and get the smoke out of the building to save, the smoke damage. And the plants necessarily aren't their first concern. So we've seen, even though you do have individual rooms, it does impact every room you have, or it doesn't have to, but there have been numerous instances where it has. And then the BI, your business interruption coverage kicks in because you have to start all over again and things like that. So we've seen these claims, we've had small ones, but generally when they start, they don't stop. So, the losses, while infrequent perhaps to someone else, they're severe when they do occur, right? And so that's the biggest problem we've seen. We've worked really hard with some lighting specialists in Canada that are familiar to most growers and operations here that helped us figure out how to stop this from happening. And we didn't see it in the first year. So if I was giving risk management advice, or my one tip is, the first year, it was mandatory that you had double enclosures on these light bulbs. That was a Health Canada requirement. They took that requirement out, but they really didn't think about it from an insurance standpoint. And we've seen increases in fires ever since. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that rule come back into play from an insurance standpoint and a long-term risk management standpoint as well.
Well, I think that's where we could come in to provide some assistance as well. And that's where, when you have questions on that, or even if it's a question about something Health Canada regulated, like we're happy to have that discussion to be like, here's what they're looking for from that aspect. But we're also always going to be conversating with Kelli and her team and engineering teams to be like, what is going to make the most sense for your business? Well, I know sometimes it might cost a bit more, but in the grand scheme of things, it could prevent you from having to go through that entire process where you lose all your product, all your crop, and you're months behind in schedule. And if you don't have any proper ventilation that is going into those rooms, like that will stop the second there's smoke, it's going to get into the other rooms too, and it's going to cause damage to the product, and then that's garbage, right? And it's not what you want to experience at all. And while there's insurance policies there to help rectify you, it's still going to set your business back, and that's what we want to always avoid, right?
Well, I think so, right? I think for these guys, it's kind of hard because they don't have the 10, 30, 40 years of, historical insurance data for their
Yeah.
business, like every other business gets the benefit from, right? So I think what maybe perhaps Gallagher's team or, brings to the table is you guys have a wide variety of clients that do, similar things across the country. So, what works in one greenhouse may work in another. So, and it's all a learning process for all of us. I've learned more about light bulbs in the last year of my life than I ever thought I would know. I did not foresee that learning lesson coming, but it came. And yeah, now I'm an expert, I think. But no, I am not. I do leave this to the experts. But, we're seeing a lot of trends go that way. And the cannabis industry, I must say, has been very good at coming to the table with helping Nextwave, with offering suggestions, with all sorts of things. So I mean, it's a testament to them right now too, that they've all pulled together. I think they realize they're all in this together, and
Yeah.
I think we'll get through it. But there's just been some, pretty bad ones out there for sure.
Yeah, and we have some internal risk management tools that we'll be launching this year to help with weather forecasting and planning for, what are your by your kind of longitude, latitude, or postal code, where are your highest risk areas from at least a natural claims situation. This is more, what is going on with inside the building and what's driving those claims as well. But that's a talk for another day or follow up for a question type of thing. But I think I wanted to move on a bit to retail because I think we're just seeing an explosion of retail. We're going to keep seeing a lot of M&A, and it's been one nice thing during the pandemic is there's stores opening and people are being able to get in business, and it wasn't fully halted. It might be a bit slower, but I don't think we haven't seen a ton of claims being driven out of this space, but there are a few, and that seem to be all in the same grouping. So I thought maybe you could provide some insight on that as well.
Sure. I mean, I think retail stores I think they're suffering from, two problems. One, which we knew was going to be a problem, was with delivery operations, right? Which is why I had excluded it on every quote. But due to the pandemic, when, lockdown was happening, we let it occur. There have been a lot of accidents when these guys are out on the road. There have been issues there. But I mean, that happens. That's just everyday insurance. But so that's been a problem. But we realized that the alternative was they were going to be closed.
Yeah.
And, what's the worst risk there? A vacant building that no one's paying attention to, or, that. So we kind of let that one go. And it's been good for the retail stores. The other problem, retail stores are just the same problems you're going to see at any retail exposure. We've had a lot of water damage and things of that. But what's different about cannabis retail stores versus any other retail exposure that people might not realize is a lot of these guys have gone in and done some really interesting tenant improvements. They've got some really cool stock and artwork and design, and to replace that costs a lot of money when, God forbid, something happens, right? So we've had a lot of pretty significant retail store claims just because of that. Like when you have your typical break and enters. We've had some interesting break and enters where actually the vaults and everything is working, right? The guys, they may get through the door, but they're not getting anything out of there. So that's
Yeah.
also a risk management testament to the retail industry. They're doing great there, so that's good. But you're still going to have, your trip and falls, your water damage. But when those ones happen, they tend to catch up there pretty quick. You can't just, and the other thing people to forget is those Health Canada licenses are site specific. So if something happens to your building, and you need to open back up. Normally in insurance, we rent a space close by and throw you over there and rebuild it. That's not necessarily going to be the case with a cannabis retail store, because it is dedicated to that limit. So there's a lot of business interruption that goes along with that. So pay attention to those limits, because they are a little more significant than you think.
Yeah, and that's what we always tell all of our retail store owners is, when you get the store, you need to be cognizant of what you're putting into the store, because we need to make sure that's insured. Stock and product liability will come later once you're operational, but in the early stages, it's whatever your equipment is, signs, stuff along those lines going in there. You got to make sure that's covered off, and you got to make sure your BI is covered off, right? You can forecast what your profits are going to be, but if you can't even end up opening, and that's a delayed too, like then there's another issue there. And I've heard of cases where people have just opened and then immediately they get a water damage loss right away, and that's just
it happens all the time. Time. It's not you. Well, because you're rushing to make sure that you can open the day and start making money, right? So those are typically when you're going to have those losses, right? When you're just rushing, and that's what insurance is here for. It's fine. But that does tend to happen. And another thing I don't think people are really starting to digest yet is the cost of construction materials has increased through the roof. I don't know if anybody's tried to build a fence lately, but
lumber is not cheap.
No, and the distribution channel in general, like it's just not good. No. So, I mean, to get these materials back, the costs have gone up significantly over the last year. Will they stay this high? I don't know. I'm no economist. But right now, I know that a lot of people are probably facing a co-insurance clause based on the limits that they've chosen on their policies, right?
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing people need to realize is, and be cognizant of, putting equipment and putting contents in there and signs, that's not going to drive your premium. It's not a huge premium. Your premium is driven from your product's liability exposure, which you need to be with any provincial government, and your stock that you're going to be having in there, which you also have to get at some point too. But it's really products liability driven, and so don't be
bulk of your
afraid
premium. I mean, you're going to save pennies, like a couple dollars on your property. It really is the prices are all liability. Don't think that,
especially like the signage. The signage is not cheap, and especially the way a lot of the cannabis stores are designed, it's very much like pull in type of signage, right? That you've probably spent a lot of money with your logo and everything like that. So you want to make sure that's being covered.
Absolutely. And they've all got really unique things, and it's not easy these days to replace, things.
I think we've all realized everything's slowed down significantly.
Exactly. So I mean, those are typically the things we've seen. We've seen some very, we've seen some liability lawsuits, certainly, over and above the trip and falls. There are some product liability claims kicking around. So and right there, you just need somebody to defend you, right? Defense costs here are going to be huge, and that's why Nextwave's come to the table across the country numerous times to defend these cannabis claims that are no doubt going to appear, and just being with somebody that understands the need to fight for you, I think is good. So we've seen a whole bunch of stuff, and it's been interesting. No two claims have come in the same. No two same burglars have tried to break in anywhere. It's a very strange thing, but.
Like any business in its infancy stages, and I mean we're past the infancy stage, but getting in a more developed stage, you get the crazy claims start coming in. You and I have both worked in many other verticals before, right? And have seen them all. So awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today. This was great, and I mean Nextwave has been a tremendous supporter of ours and partner of ours, and we look forward to continuing that with you guys moving ahead.
Yeah, thanks to you both for inviting me. It's been a pleasure as always, gentlemen. Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for all your help too, Dave. We'll get through this together as we do,
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
we'll look forward to speaking with everyone in the breakout room shortly.
Cheers.